Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for joining our fourth session of the day. I am super excited about this panel. We are incredibly blessed to be in Montgomery County, where we have so many options to continue with our own personal education, but also to partner with organizations that will help us equip and prepare our employees. So I'm super excited to introduce you to our guest today, Dr. Carla Alessandro, who is the Senior Director for the University of St. Thomas. She is stepping in at the last minute for Jeff Olsen, and we appreciate you for doing that, Carla. Dr. Devon Berry is the Director for the Sam Houston State University School of Nursing. Dr. Linda Head is the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Lone Star College. And Dr. Zoran Perunovic is the Director of Executive Education for Rice University. To get us started, and let me remind you, you have their bios in your brochure, and I encourage you to look at those. They're very impressive. But I'd like to just start with Carla and have each of them just give you a couple-minute overview of their programs. So Carla.
Thank you, Julie. It's nice to be here. As she said, I am sitting in for the Vice President of Marketing and University Relations, Mr. Jeff Olsen, who apologizes for not being able to be here with us today. His absence was unavoidable. So I am the Senior Director at the USTMAX Center. USTMAX is the micro campus for the University of St. Thomas. And the University of St. Thomas is located in the heart of Houston. Our micro campus is located in the heart of downtown Conroe. And so we are very proud to be a part of Montgomery County and the education scene in Montgomery County. We've been open for just over a year. The USTMAX Center is primarily an on-site support center for our online students. But we also serve as a marketing and recruiting center for all of what the university has to offer, since we now have so many more online programs than we had just a few short years ago, and more coming along all the time. We're able to market in a way that we couldn't before. And so that makes the University of St. Thomas a little bit more of an option now for people that live in Montgomery County who may not have otherwise thought of considering the private university, Houston's Catholic University, as an option because of perhaps logistical issues in getting back and forth from where they live and or work. And so the USTMAX Center is here as a resource for the community. We provide a number of different opportunities for traditional learners as well as non-traditional learners. We have a variety of programs that are designed to support the business community and the community at large. We have lectures and lunch and learns and continuing education for adult learners we call leisure learning. And so there are many things going on at the MAX Center, and we encourage you to come on up and check us out.
Hi, my name is Devon Berry. I'm the director for the School of Nursing at Sam Houston State University. Any Bearcats out there? All right, I thought we'd have a few at least. We are a regional public university, about 20,000 students. The main campus is in Huntsville, but we have a growing footprint this way down toward the Woodlands, the College of Medicine in Conroe, some of you will be familiar with, and then the School of Nursing, which sits on the campus of Lone Star on 242 there. I actually just recently relocated from Portland, Oregon to just north of Houston here. And people ask me all the time, what in the world? Why would you have done that? I'm not sure culturally there could have been a bigger shift within the continental US for me to make. But I'll tell you the reason that I came to Sam Houston State University. It's because of its social mobility scores. And so some of you may or may not be familiar with the social mobility index. It's an increasingly important measure of the performance of universities in the United States. And social mobility basically asks this. If you take a student and you put them through any of your educational programs, if we look at them again 10 years later down the road, has their life changed? Socioeconomically, are they in a different place than where they and their families started? And one of the secrets that's not such a secret anymore, thanks to the New York Times, is that in higher education, we haven't been stellar at doing that. That's not something that we've been great at doing, and we're really working to improve that. Sam Houston, be it regional and be it in the midst of a lot bigger players here in Texas and a very large educational system, is actually top 3% in the nation for social mobility. When I was doing my research and considering the position here, that was the number one thing that attracted me. I'm a father of a transracial family, and so we're always continually looking at places that create real value for the whole of society. And being in Texas as a minority majority state, this was a really good fit for us. And so very proud to be at Sam Houston and glad to be here today.
Hi, Linda Head with Lone Star College. We have really good relationships with these other colleges. And when we talk today, it's fun that it's in a collaborative way. My responsibility changed a couple of years ago. My department is called External and Employer Relations. So we start with the employer. And we'll talk a little bit today about how we engage with employers, how we decide the degrees and certificates, but more importantly, what's available for adults in continuing education. Thank you for having us here.
Now, good afternoon. My name is Zoran Perunovic, and I'm Director of Executive Education at Rice University. So executive educations are actually programs that help empower business leaders to take charge of their personal development and also their organization's performance. So we do offer a series of open enrollment programs in management and leadership disciplines, from general management, holistic management, strategy, innovation, traditional leadership courses, etc. And also we work a lot with organizations on designing custom programs for them to help develop their people or solve problems or recognize and seize different business opportunities. And as you know, Rice is in downtown Houston, but we also have been present here in the Woodlands for past 3 years, where we do offer some of our leadership and management programs. And 3 years ago, when we started, we chose Woodlands for 2 reasons. The official one is that this is the thriving community where a lot of business leaders do work, but also a lot of people in those positions do live here. And an unofficial version is that when I moved from Europe to the Woodlands 3 years ago, I realized the commute. So I thought that we should bring Rice to the Woodlands.
So let me start with a clarifying question. What is the difference between executive education, continuing education, and lifelong learning?
Who dares to start? Well, you do ask that question to 4 people with permanent head damage, meaning PhDs. So this is going to be a long academic discussion now. Yeah, just stay awake.
We have lots of other questions.
Stay
too,
awake.
so.
So traditionally, in my opinion, lifelong learning is the holistic place in a person's education. So we start with pre-K, we go through primary schools, through high schools, and then get into undergraduate, graduate education, and so forth. But as we progress, the lifelong learning is basically once we get into our jobs, doing what we do, we never stop learning. So then we can split lifelong learning into 2 dimensions. One would be the continuing, which traditionally is perceived as education on different type of topics. It can be, learning how to program in Python. It could be cooking classes. It could be something within, even management, leadership, etc. Whereas executive education belongs to type of lifelong learning. It's also part of continuing education, but it is education for managers, executives, or people who are being prepared to assume those positions within any managerial or leadership discipline. So that's where I would position it.
I might add to that. I mentioned earlier that we offer continuing education through the USTMAX Center, but we call it leisure learning. And part of the reason that we decided to, and we didn't create that. I mean, that's a thing, it's out there, leisure learning. But we decided to go with that particular title because it helped to distinguish what we were wanting to offer in these early stages of the USTMAX Center. That would set it apart from the executive education. or some of the full-fledged continuing education schools that exist within other universities. We aspire to have a full-fledged continuing education program over the coming years, but we've started small at USTMAX with leisure learning. And so we're offering things like creative writing for adult learners. We are piloting this semester and we'll be launching fully next semester ESL. So we want to help the community in that way, those Spanish speakers who want to learn English as a second language. We are offering computer basics for adult learners. So our leisure learner is designed for adult people who want to learn something new on more of a leisure basis, and there are no college credits associated with those classes.
So our new chief marketing officer for Lone Star College is sitting right over there. So she's the one that has to figure out the right words to explain to the public the difference between those three. But we're focused at Lone Star College on what we call continuing education. And I just got back from Washington, D.C. last night. I'm on a commission for workforce and economic development across the 1,200 community colleges in the United States. And anything that will help you get into a job, keep a job, or find your next job is what continuing education is to us. Sometimes it's a licensure. Sometimes it's an industry certification, Cisco, CCISP for cybersecurity, PMI for project management. Sometimes it's a course, and sometimes it's customized training for your company, whether you have 10 employees or 10,000 employees, that you decide is some skill set and technical or behavioral competency that you need for your employees to grow so that your company can grow. And that's my focus for our division. And the executive education we leave to the universities, because typically an executive, not always of course, has some other degree plus their experience, and they're building upon that. And leisure learning to us is our, it's totally different. It's really funny, is our summer youth camps and our Academy for Lifelong Learning, which is our senior adult program.
So how is higher education keeping pace with the rapid changes accelerated by the pandemic in society and in the job markets?
Yeah, happy to start that up. Like the rest of us, it's hard. It's really hard. Higher ed is changing and changing quickly, and what society needs also seems to be shifting. So a lot of us are caught up in trying to really understand in an intimate way what our immediate communities need. And I think that's one of the most important things I want to say in this space is that, yes, there are trends. Yes, there are shifts going on. Some of them really obvious, the shift to online education and so on and so forth. Without rehashing those necessarily, I think more than ever, higher ed needs strong partners in the workforce. We need the community to bring us into their space and tell us exactly what it is you need and what you're not getting from higher ed. I don't think there's at least been in my 20 years in higher ed, a time in which I felt more compelled to be sitting with those folks who are going to be hiring our graduates and understanding exactly what they need. In our space of healthcare, that means sitting down with CMOs and CNOs and asking them exactly, what are you not getting out of our current grads? And also, how is it that we create educational delivery models that meet your current employees right where they're at? So just in general, I would kick it off by saying, boy, do we need to partner closely with those in the workforce.
I would agree. And I think there are three things for me that come in my mind. Is one is we truly have to listen, as Devon's saying, to the employer first. We have really smart faculty that are well-trained at our 7 campuses, but they don't know everything. And what's the point if at the end, whether it takes 1 industry certification, 6 weeks of training, or 12 years to be a physician, if no one's going to hire you, what's the point? So we spend a lot of hours meeting with our employers in an organized way to hear what they need. Second thing is they're coming to us. Employers are coming to us in ways they never did before, and I'm sure they are with all of you. Intel needs people in artificial intelligence. Who would think at a community college would be in the artificial intelligence space? Well, Lone Star is the second community college in the country that they came to develop a certificate and a degree program in AI, because they're not getting the right people out of traditional computer science programs that are nimble enough and moving quickly enough into that space. Dell, we had 2 huge recruiting fairs for Dell computers over the last couple of months, because they want people that will live in a community, get educated in community, and work in a community. And then the last example is National Oil Varco. They are one of the largest manufacturers in the world of oil and gas. Anything that's on top of a deck, onshore or offshore drilling rig, are now making turbines in solar and a lot of other things in different kinds of energy. But they're paying for students to start in high school in dual credit, go through community college, go through Texas A&M Galveston in mechanical engineering because of DEI efforts. If you look around in manufacturing and oil and gas in Texas, it's not very diverse. If you look at colleges in Texas, it is diverse. So they're looking for new ways to attract different kinds of students finally.
At the University of St. Thomas, we've also responded to the needs of the workforce for employee development. We've responded here in the last few years by making sure that more of our courses are available online, and then some of our courses or our programs are accelerated. For instance, there's great need in the healthcare industry, right? So we have just over the last couple of years started a secondary nursing school here in Montgomery County for the accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree. If a person is interested in becoming a nurse and they already have an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree, they can get through the ABSN in about a year's time, sit for the exam, and get a job working as a nurse full-time. And so this is a way that we're helping to accommodate that particular need that exists very much so in this day and age particularly. We've also partnered with an agency called Harper Rand to bring certification programs to the community. And these are in-person classes being held at the USTMAX Center in Conroe now. We are offering phlebotomy technician certifications, medical office technician certifications, pharmacy technicians, medical billing and coding specialists. Those are certification programs that are available now. People can jump into one of those programs and in some cases be done with the training in as little as 3 weeks, up to maybe 3 months or so. Then you're prepared to sit for the exam. You can go out and get a very nice paying job, a livable wage. Some students choose to do this so that they can get into the workforce quickly and then save money so that they can go back and gain another degree, perhaps a full 4-year degree or something along those lines, or go into nursing school or whatever they want to do from there. And so we're meeting a need that's immediate, and it's a quick way to go about getting out there into the workforce right here in Montgomery County.
Right, and we've been listening as well, the signals from the industry, from the environment. But when it comes to management and leadership programs, management is management, leadership is leadership when it comes to when it comes to the titles of the programs. But the content is one that is always changing, and that is what Rice business faculty is extremely good at, is to adapt the content, the emerging topics within the leadership. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would add a new program or change the title of the program, but the content of it, the way that you have conversations with business leaders is going to be different. We have introduced in the middle of pandemic, and so far has been huge success, one new open enrollment program, and that is corporate innovation. As you have known, Houston has been trying to redefine itself, and a lot of effort has been put into entrepreneurial path towards innovation. We also had the previous panel discussing that. But if you look around, we have a 24 Fortune 500 companies based in Houston area, one also here in the Woodlands. And then we have a lot of large established organizations across industries. So how do you kind of change your organizational culture, how you make people more creative, more innovative? So that's the reason why I introduced the new program. We just recognized the need and offered something to complement already established entrepreneurial path. And then on the custom side of programs, we have seen shift towards more, I would say, untraditional management disciplines that they're requiring business school professors to teach. And one of those is that we're having a lot of requests in several programs is in the data analytics. So decision makers in companies are, embracing new reality, and that is probably the outcome of the fourth industrial revolution, where we have this conversion not conversion, but getting into the same convergence. Sorry, that's the word. Convergence of physical, technical, biological, and cognitive worlds. So that's where industry is heading, and then we are, of course, led by our faculty, having programming in those ways and having conversations there.
Julie, could I add one more thing? In terms of the pandemic itself, June 2020, the Texas Workforce Commission pivoted really fast on how they get money out and for whom. And over the last 14 years, most of their customized training money that comes through community colleges was for large manufacturers. But because of the pandemic, they realized there were a lot of smaller companies trying to stay in business or pivot their business. And it was really fun last summer in a weird, stressful way. We lost a contract for $1.4 million with Dyken Goodman to conduct about 300 courses for their technical workforce to add new smaller companies. We had a last mile trucking company that worked for Amazon that had the smaller trucks, and all of a sudden now they need a safety class because you have dogs and kids and running around the neighborhoods, and they're driving their trucks around real fast, delivering stuff. And so we did a health and safety class for them that we had never offered before. We worked with Texas Tissue out in Conroe. I mean, who didn't need toilet paper last June, for heaven's sakes? We were all hoarding it like crazy people. And Texas Tissue opened their brand new plant out there, and they have this multi-million-dollar cutting machine they bought from Italy, and they needed customized training and needed technicians. Farouk Shami makes shampoo and conditioners and straight irons, and he started making hand sanitizer. So he needed us to customize and help train his employees. So for this, particularly in the customized training part, and how do you help a business quickly revamp, update, onboard people, we had to do that quite a bit.
I love the way you all are listening to business and finding out what their needs are. Of course, today, employers are desperate for employees. Do you have any programs that can help employers today to find employees today?
I can start off, and just again, speaking to the healthcare footprint that we have in the area, we regularly are approached by area employers saying, hey, we need to get access to your students because our pipelines are hurting, particularly in nursing and medicine. And so we have those folks come in. They're often in our classrooms. They're often in our health fairs. Probably one of the most effective things that happens, though, is that I think generally what we would call internships, just for the audience here, is that employers are able to work directly with our students. And that's probably the best connection that we see happen, is that students get to know the employer gets to know the student. And before the end of that internship, often a match is made. And so many of our students are hired well before graduation because of the needs for employees. But those hires are made, and they're made with confidence because our students are in those workplaces and everyone's getting to know each other. Many of our students have multiple offers 3, 4, 5, 6 months before graduation. And some employers are working hard to actually establish real relationships. And that creates a lot of difficulties in that kind of job market. But when there's time for both parties to get to know each other, we see the best matches made. So I think internships, placements, allowing students into the workplace is an effective way to help meet some of those needs.
Traditional career fairs don't work. You get 30 employers in a room like this, and you hope that the right employees show up, except when it's in a community like the Woodlands and Conroe, because you know the businesses, you know the people. It's a little bit differently than when we hold them down in spring, which is it's not the same. The cool thing about the Woodlands and Conroe is we can wrap our arms around our businesses. We know them, we grow them. We have great chambers of commerce. Of course, we're sitting here representing the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce, the best chamber of commerce. And when I'm with Conroe, I will say the same thing. No, I'm just kidding. But but we need businesses to reach out to us earlier. We really, by the time you post a job, it's kind of late to be finding the right person, because you need them and you probably needed them for many months. We do our best in online job fairs, and we graduate traditionally 3 times a year. And we also have non-credit continuing ed students that graduate all the time. But we need to know now, what are you seeing in the future? So that what our ask to you is join our advisory councils, reach out to all of us, and let us know what you're needing and seeing on the horizon. And think of us as another staffing agency. We're not just colleges for the sake of education. We want our students to get jobs. So we are staffing agencies too. And you don't come to us enough and say, I need an executive assistant, I need an office manager, I need a graphic artist, I need a web designer, a bookkeeper, an accountant, an event planner. Call us. We probably have those programs, and we probably have those people, and they're probably ready. And even our student workers, if you look at the number of students that are represented by our institutions sitting up here, we can probably find you some people to interview if you just ask.
Yeah, I would have to agree with what Linda has just said. At the University of St. Thomas, we welcome that information, those opportunities to help connect the perfect candidate with those jobs that you have that you're wanting to fill. We have a very vibrant career services center at the university that will help students find placements here in Montgomery County and Harris County, wherever the jobs are. We can put them, we can help connect them. And so I'm always happy to hear from someone that says, I need this, or I'm looking for someone that can fill this particular position, because I will put them directly in touch with the director of our Career Services Center, and she'll take it from there. And speaking to the job fairs and how they may or may not be all that effective, I agree. We've seen those times when you have all these employers showing up, putting their time, talent, and resources there for the benefit of talking to the students, and you might have a handful of students show up or what have you. But what we found as a very positive result of COVID-19 is that we went to an online virtual career fair method last year. And it was so successful when we were forced to do it that way. We just figured out how to do it. The Career Services Center director found the right software to be able to accomplish this. The employers loved it. They want to stay with that format. It worked very well for them. It works very well for the students, and connections are being made. And so we are very grateful for that. Unexpected consequence, positive unexpected consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic, so that we can do things in a more efficient manner and in a way that works well for everyone.
You know, we're also not talking about a 20-year-old graduate with no job experience anymore. We're talking about a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 35-year-old, a woman who never got to finish her education because she had a child, a man who lost his job at 50 years old because of the pandemic or the oil and gas business going on. So you don't know if you could dispel out of your head, because you don't know what that student did before they went back to college to take an SAP course or a Cisco course or become a phlebotomist or a truck driver, whatever it is that you need to hire, you don't know. And oh my gosh, you know, people with all kinds of experience. We just did you know, we have this Metallica grant. The band Metallica has funded us for the skilled trades, and I have women in heavy metal is what we called it. And we have engineers that graduated from Texas A&M that because of the petroleum, the few people being hired in petroleum engineering, they're going into a truck driving program and making $48,000 a year plus extra mileage, extra pay for extra mileage. And they love their job. And so you just don't know until you start talking to us.
That's true. And we also help place our alumni in positions. They have every accessibility to our Career Services Center as well. So yeah, let us know what you need and we'll try to help you.
I will just borrow from Linda's continuum, get, keep, change. I would say that executive education, we help excel while you have it. So basically you get promoted and then you make new outstanding results and, you know, higher salary, a dynamic career path, etc. So that's where we are as executive education. Of course, if you lose a job or if you want to change to a different company, better paying or more exciting, having that skill set that you get in executive education plus RISE's stamp behind you definitely helps.
So what trends, demographic, economic, or other, do you see that will impact the future of education?
What we have seen in the career development office at Rice Business School is that, you know, the hiring or companies coming to recruit talent is just exploding. We are having historically highest numbers. There is definitely hunt after talent that is happening. I think that everyone would agree with that. And people who are getting out from education at different stages, whether it's graduate, continuing, executive, they have become more picky. Not only for finances, but also for what employer is offering. So I think there will be a huge need for this individualized, not training and education, but, you know, the holistic offering that would come. And another trend what I see is the need for better designed strategic learning partnerships. So educational institutions and organizations will be working closer together on identifying, co-developing, executing different educational needs and professional development needs. That's, I think we're going to see the merging of those two institutions.
And I'll add to that a little bit. I've also recognized that there is the tendency now to want to make things far more flexible than they used to be in higher ed. Once again, thanks to COVID, we've realized that we have to be flexible and realistic in our expectations of what students can do, especially non-traditional students, when it comes to their education, because many of them are working and or caring for their families while they're also trying to be either retooled or retooling their careers or setting out to establish a new career. And so flexibility, 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 we hear that quite a bit. And also simplify things. You know, don't just add on a lot of requirements for completion for the sake of having a lot of requirements for completion. Let's look at it from a realistic point of view and simplify wherever you can so that students can get through the program in an efficient manner and get out there and start earning a livable wage.
So you all know, through the North Houston Economic Development Council, all the chambers of commerce in the Lone Star College service area are represented. We have a full-time senior business analyst who can get you any of that information for free anytime you want, both the economic, external, household incomes, ages, how many in a house, family income, all that, or labor market data. So it is there. You can put a request in, and Christina Boutte will take care of that for you. So it is a service. And we look at that data all the time. Employers keep saying they can't find the right employees. We've heard for years the generations, right? We've labeled every generation. We say this generation's this, that. It's kind of like the sign of the zodiac. I'm a Gemini, so I have a split personality. You know, I like to talk. I like to get in front of people. Yeah, but what has changed is family income levels, are numbers of people that are single late or single with children, or having more than one job and trying to go to school and all that. We are trying to understand the community better by looking at that data so that we offer our courses and certifications at night, day, online, on Saturday. So it's at the convenience of the community rather than the convenience of the faculty. And when I was a dean at Tomball years ago, you know, no one wanted to teach before 9 or after 3, and that's when our classes were. Well, what about all the people that need to come at night? And so as a dean, I had to influence them to want to teach at night and kind of force them to teach at night once a year or online. And here now we have 8,700 sections of classes online. We need to know the community, and we do watch that data. And there's also, can't get away from it, we're in Texas. English is not the first language of everyone. It doesn't mean they're not the most qualified. And it might mean, it means they're smarter than me because I can barely speak English very well. I wish I was fluent in another language, but it's not everyone's first language anymore. And so the notion of they have an accent, a beautiful accent, and that, you know, we are going to need to learn other languages, and we need to get past whatever it is and help people learn English. And the only way to really build the workforce in the numbers that the United States needs a trained workforce is we have to continue to also teach English and teach it well enough so they can get through high school and do well and go to college or get an industry certification or whatever people want to do.
That may lead to my next question. As locally based universities, how do you connect our students with national and international opportunities?
I think it's incredibly important these days that our students have the opportunity to have their experiences expanded. We work with so many students that have not been out of the state, which is in one sense a real credit to Texas and all the satisfaction that it can provide for somebody who resides here. And at the same time, we recognize that there's a way of understanding the world that those students may not have access to. So at SAM, like many universities, there's many opportunities to build into your education international service, international exposure in terms of internships and trips. We take nurses regularly to several different countries throughout the United States. And that is for those of you who've done that, you know, that can be a transformative experience. You just don't see the world the same way after you return from one of those trips. And so again, I think finding ways to build that actually into the educational cycle, ways to fund those trips, because they're quite expensive. And oftentimes we end up asking students to figure out how to do that out of pocket. And so bringing in funds to be able to enable them to do that really, I think, radically increases the quality of graduate when they have that broad view of the world and are able to experience that as a future member of the workforce.
Absolutely. Cultural intelligence, I think, is really a big part of the game right now, right alongside emotional intelligence. So if we can help our students to understand what it means to live and function in a global society, then they are being set up for success in ways that they would not be otherwise. We start out right at the freshman year with what we call our first year experience study abroad program. And so all freshmen are given the opportunity to study abroad, and there are scholarships available at the University of St. Thomas to help make this possible for the students, because it would otherwise be very cost prohibitive for most students to be able to take a trip out of the country. But we offer them this opportunity on an annual basis. They just had the information session yesterday, I think, for the upcoming spring study abroad trip. And this particular trip will be taking them to Italy, Rome in particular. And so there's a class component built into it. So it really is a study abroad, study at home first, get ready for the trip, go on the trip, have the experience, then come back and do some discerning and debriefing about it as well. So that's what we do at the freshman level. We also at the master's level, for instance, in our JP2 studies, our St. John Paul II Institute has a John Paul II Studies program. It's a master's program. And you can do that program primarily online as far as the classwork is concerned, but there is a study abroad component built into it. And that program takes you to Poland, which is where Pope John Paul II is from. And so that's another really amazing transformative experience for those students. So we do our best to introduce our students at all levels of education to the world at large.
Well, in the space of executive education, of course, we all hope that managers and executives do have a global mindset, right? So yes, and most of them really do, the huge majority. And so they have already, been exposed to the world, either as established grown-ups or through their professional life. But what we are seeing also that, being Rice, being also in Houston, we see that we are actually a big magnet for managers and executives from the Gulf of Mexico states. So we see a lot of people flying from Central and even South America, and even some from Europe to take programs on Rice campus. And in past 3 years here in the Woodlands, we always see sometime between 10% to 15% people who are flying to the Woodlands to take management and leadership programs coming from different countries. From Mexico, we had one from Switzerland, I think, and even from other states.
So at Lone Star, we have international travel and that sort of thing, but one of the things we started doing about 12 years ago under our prior chancellor was getting executive leadership to also travel globally. So as we're being strategic in what we do and how we offer and who we hire, I had the opportunity to go to South Vietnam. I'd been to Paris, I'd been to Rome, and now I'm flying by myself to South Vietnam, scared to death, actually, with no iPad, no laptop, no phone that ever worked in any airport. I had to stop in 3 different airports, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I guess I'll get there. I guess someone will be there when I get there. But it was a life-changing, I can't even describe what it was like to be in a van where no one spoke English. I was the only woman, and you're driving down to the Mekong River and seeing the poverty like I've never seen in my life. And as more and more of the Lone Star College executives, we've been to India, we've been to, because as educators, we are asked to come and help build education in other countries. The chancellor got to speak in China when President Trump won. They were trying to understand the Electoral College because there was so much controversy, you know, on the news and everything. So he went over there and spoke to graduate students about our Electoral College and stuff. And so educating our educators and our leaders of education is really, really important, because most of our educators have never worked in these global companies, and a lot of them haven't traveled necessarily. So we start there, but also in our service learning. So in our service learning communities, Houston is one of the most diverse cities in the United States. Mayor Turner says we are the most diverse. I don't know if New York mayor would say the same, but we are one of the most. And so just conducting service learning in nonprofits in different cultural areas around Houston and seeing what it's like to be poor Hispanic in Houston, or to be wealthy from Mexico City in Houston, or to be, you know, from any culture, any place, but service learning, you get this experience while it's connected to education, to see what it's truly like, at least from a snapshot, and never have to leave home.
Well, as we wrap up, I want to say thank you all so much for being here. What I heard is we have an unbelievable number of programs, specialized and otherwise, to continue education. You all are wanting us to come talk to you, to tell you what kinds of employees that we need, and that you're looking to partner with us. And so we're grateful to have you all here in this community. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure.